Hollywood and controversy often go hand in hand, but some films pushed the limits so far they nearly brought the industry to its knees. These movies were so explosive, even Hollywood tried to bury them. Today, we're diving into 25 more banned films that almost destroyed old Hollywood. And number 18 will totally surprise you. Peeping Tom, 1960. Hollywood has never shied away from controversy, and few films illustrate this better than Michael Powell's Peeping Tom. Released in 1960, this British psychological thriller shattered boundaries by putting audiences directly into the mind of a killer. The story follows Mark Lewis, a shy cameraman who films the deaths of his victims, blending voyeurism with horror in a way that was groundbreaking and deeply unsettling for its time. When it premiered, Peeping Tom horrified critics and the public alike. The British press was especially ruthless, denouncing the film as sick and evil. Powell, once a celebrated director, saw his career virtually destroyed overnight. Audiences were not prepared for the film's disturbing mix of sexuality, violence, and psychological trauma. Unlike the stylized horror of Hitchcock's Psycho, which released the same year, Peeping Tom was perceived as too real, too close, and too threatening. Censors quickly moved to ban or heavily restrict the film. In the UK, it disappeared from theaters for decades. Over time, however, Peeping Tom gained a reputation as a misunderstood masterpiece. Modern critics now hail it as a precursor to the slasher genre and a daring exploration of cinema's own dark power. The film stands as a testament to the risks and rewards of challenging the status quo, sometimes at the cost of a great artist's career. Baby Doll, 1956. In the buttoned-up 1950s, few films managed to scandalize like Elia Kazan's Baby Doll. Adapted from Tennessee Williams' one-act plays, the movie's steamy marketing campaign alone was enough to raise eyebrows. The poster, showing Carol Baker in a crib, thumb in mouth, ignited outrage before audiences had seen a single frame. But it was the content of Baby Doll that really set censors ablaze. Set in the American South, the film centers on a provocative young bride and the battle between her aging husband and a rival. The sexual tension is palpable, but it's the film's frank treatment of desire, lust, and manipulation that made it a lightning rod. Religious groups, especially the Catholic Legion of Decency, condemned Baby Doll as grievously offensive to Christian and traditional standards of morality. Several states banned the film outright. Protesters picketed theaters, and major studio heads came under fire for daring to distribute it. Despite, or perhaps because of, the controversy, Baby Doll drew packed houses and received 4 Oscar nominations, including Best Actress for Baker. In the decades since, it's been reappraised as a bold, darkly funny commentary on sexual repression and hypocrisy. Baby Doll remains a striking example of how films that challenge taboos can both scandalize and inspire Hollywood. The Warriors, 1979. Few films ignited real-world chaos quite like Walter Hill's The Warriors. Released in 1979, this stylized action thriller, set in a dystopian New York City, follows a street gang's desperate journey home after they're framed for murder. Its release coincided with a surge in urban gang violence, and life imitated art in the most dangerous way. Within days of its premiere, several incidents of violence broke out at theaters showing The Warriors. Rival gangs used screenings as battlegrounds, leading to injuries, property damage, and even fatalities. Theater owners, fearing for public safety, pulled the film from screens or canceled showings in many cities. Some local governments attempted to ban it entirely. The studio tried to calm the storm by halting advertising and asking cinemas to beef up security. Despite these efforts, the controversy only increased public curiosity, and the movie became a box office hit. Critics were divided. Some decried the film as irresponsible, while others saw it as a visionary piece of urban mythology. In the years since, The Warriors has gained cult status for its stylized violence, striking visuals, and pulsing soundtrack. It's a vivid reminder of how movies can sometimes spark reactions far beyond the screen. Crash, 1996. David Cronenberg's Crash is a film that many viewers found difficult even to sit through, let alone praise. Released in 1996, it tells the story of people who develop sexual fetishes for car accidents. The film explores the dark intersections of technology, desire, and mortality, offering a deeply unsettling look at human obsession. From the moment Crash premiered at Cannes, it divided audiences and critics. Some called it depraved, while others hailed it as a bold work of art. The British Board of Film Classification faced intense pressure not to allow its release in the UK. The film was banned by several local councils and pulled from cinemas in Canada. Protesters argued that Crash glorified violence and perversion, with some politicians calling for outright bans. Despite this, the film found passionate defenders who argued that Cronenberg's disturbing vision was a legitimate, even necessary, exploration of society's hidden urges. Over time, Crash has been re-evaluated as one of the most daring films of the 1990s, pushing the limits of what cinema can depict. Its legacy is a powerful reminder that truly controversial films can both unsettle and enlighten, forcing us to confront the boundaries of our own comfort zones. The Exorcist, 1973. If there's one film that truly left audiences running from theaters in terror, it's William Friedkin's The Exorcist. This 1973 horror masterpiece didn't just flirt with controversy, it embraced it. Telling the story of a young girl possessed by a demon, The Exorcist delivered scenes so graphic and intense that some viewers reportedly fainted or vomited during screenings. Religious groups were quick to condemn the movie, accusing it of blasphemy and moral corruption. Some towns attempted to ban it altogether. Rumors of a curse on the production only fueled the fire, with stories of accidents and injuries haunting the cast and crew. Linda Blair, who played the possessed Regan, received death threats and required bodyguards. Despite, or because of, the uproar, The Exorcist was a massive box office hit and became the first horror film nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. It forever changed the landscape of horror, making supernatural terror a mainstream phenomenon. Decades later, it remains a chilling, controversial classic, proving that sometimes what terrifies us most is what we most need to confront. Deep Throat, 1972. Adult films had always existed on the fringes of Hollywood, but none burst into the mainstream quite like Deep Throat. Released in 1972, this X-rated film shocked the public with its explicit sexual content and the way it was marketed as a must-see date movie. The story, revolving around a woman's quest for sexual satisfaction, was almost beside the point. It was the film's openness and humor that made it revolutionary. Conservative groups, religious leaders, and politicians rallied to have Deep Throat banned. The film's stars and director faced repeated legal battles and obscenity charges. In some cities, police raided theaters, confiscating prints and arresting managers. The controversy grew so intense that it made national headlines, turning Deep Throat into a symbol of the sexual revolution. Despite efforts to shut it down, Deep Throat was wildly successful, earning millions at the box office and paving the way for a wave of adult films in the 1970s. Its impact on censorship, law, and sexual politics can't be overstated, even as its legacy remains controversial to this day. It stands as proof that sometimes, the more you try to suppress something, the more it flourishes. Caligula, 1979. If ever a film pushed the envelope of excess, it was Tinto Brass's Caligula. Financed by Penthouse magazine, this 1979 epic set out to depict the notorious depravity of Rome's most infamous emperor. And it did so in unflinching detail. The film's blend of political intrigue, violence, and explicit sex was like nothing Hollywood had ever seen. Even before its release, Caligula was mired in scandal. Actors claimed they were tricked into appearing in hardcore scenes. Multiple cuts of the film circulated, with different versions banned or censored in countries around the world. In the US, it was refused a rating by the MPAA, making it nearly impossible to show in mainstream theaters. Despite, or perhaps because of, the controversy, Caligula became a cult hit. Some critics saw it as a grand failure, others as a wild experiment in pushing artistic boundaries. The film remains infamous for its graphic content and chaotic production, and it continues to provoke debate about where the line lies between art and obscenity. Last Tango in Paris, 1972. Few films have generated as much controversy, or debate about artistic ethics, as Bernardo Bertolucci's Last Tango in Paris. Released in 1972, this intensely erotic drama starred Marlon Brando and Maria Schneider in a story about a sexually charged relationship between two strangers. The film's explicit scenes, and revelations decades later that Schneider had not been fully informed about some of them, sparked outrage. In Italy, the film was banned, and the director faced criminal charges. In the US, censors threatened to give it the dreaded X rating, and some states banned it outright. Critics and audiences were deeply divided. Some hailed Last Tango in Paris as a breakthrough in sexual honesty and emotional depth, while others condemned it as exploitative and degrading. The controversy continues to this day, making it a cautionary tale about consent and power dynamics in filmmaking. Yet, its impact on the art of cinema is undeniable, opening doors for more frank explorations of sexuality on screen. Possession, 1981. Andrzej Żuławski's Possession is a film that sits at the crossroads of horror, psychological drama, and the surreal. Released in 1981, this French West German production follows a woman's descent into madness and her husband's futile attempts to save their marriage. What begins as a domestic drama spirals into a nightmarish tale of obsession, featuring graphic violence, body horror, and disturbing sexual imagery. Upon its release, Possession was quickly labeled a video nasty in the UK, a term used for films deemed too extreme for public viewing. It was banned or severely cut in many countries, with censors citing its disturbing content. Audiences and critics were shocked by the intensity of Isabelle Adjani's performance and the film's unrelenting descent into madness. Yet, beneath the chaos lies a powerful metaphor for the trauma of divorce, alienation, and Cold War paranoia. Possession has since become a cult classic, admired for its boldness and psychological depth. It remains a powerful reminder that the most terrifying horrors are often rooted in the human psyche itself. The Devil's Advocate, 1997. By the late 1990s, Hollywood was more willing to tackle controversial subjects, but The Devil's Advocate still managed to raise eyebrows. Directed by Taylor Hackford and starring Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino, the film blends supernatural horror with a biting critique of corporate greed and moral corruption. The story follows a young lawyer lured into a powerful law firm that turns out to be run by Satan himself. The film's mix of religious imagery, explicit sexuality, and violence led to censorship in several countries. Some Christian groups called for bans, accusing it of blasphemy and sacrilege. Adding to the controversy was a lawsuit over the use of copyrighted artwork in a pivotal scene, resulting in the alteration of home video releases. Despite these issues, The Devil's Advocate found an audience and has been praised for its provocative themes and powerhouse performances. Its legacy is a testament to the enduring power of films that are unafraid to question society's deepest taboos. Romance, 1999. Few films have tested the boundaries between art and pornography like Catherine Breillat's Romance. Released in 1999, this French film follows a woman's sexual awakening as she seeks fulfillment outside her passionless relationship. The film's unflinching depiction of unsimulated sex, including scenes with adult film stars, led to bans and censorship battles worldwide. In some countries, romance was banned outright or only shown in heavily edited versions. Critics and audiences were deeply divided. Some praised the film's honesty and emotional complexity, while others condemned it as obscene. The film raised important questions about female desire, sexual autonomy, and the double standards of censorship. Despite, or perhaps because of, the controversy, Romance has been recognized as a daring, provocative work of feminist cinema. It remains a lightning rod for debates about sexuality on screen, proving that art that challenges societal norms will always provoke strong reactions. Basic Instinct, 1992. Paul Verhoeven's Basic Instinct is the film that reignited the erotic thriller for a new generation. Released in 1992, it starred Sharon Stone as the enigmatic, seductive novelist Catherine Trammell, whose dangerous charms ensnare a troubled detective. The film's explicit sex scenes, bisexual characters, and graphic violence drew immediate fire from censors, religious groups, and LGBTQ activists alike. Protests erupted outside theaters, and several countries demanded cuts or outright banned the film. In Singapore and Ireland, Basic Instinct was initially refused a release altogether. Despite the outrage, or perhaps because of it, the movie became a massive international hit. Stone's infamous interrogation scene became one of the most talked-about moments in film history. Basic Instinct is now considered a classic of the genre, its controversy a reminder of cinema's ability to provoke, titillate, and disturb all at once. Love Camp 7, 1969. Long before the term video nasty entered the public consciousness, Love Camp 7 had already shocked audiences and censors alike. Released in 1969, this exploitation film depicted the horrors of a Nazi-run women's prison camp. Its blend of sexual violence and sadism was so graphic that it was banned outright in the UK and several other countries for decades. Critics and censors alike condemned Love Camp 7 for its gratuitous exploitation of real historical trauma. Many argued that the film crossed the line from provocative to simply obscene, contributing nothing to artistic discourse. Nevertheless, it became a cult item among collectors of extreme cinema. Today, Love Camp 7 is often cited as a cautionary example of the dangers of using historical atrocity for entertainment. It remains banned in the UK, one of the rare films never granted certification, and stands as a stark reminder of cinema's capacity to both reflect and exploit humanity's darkest moments. Visions of Ecstasy, 1989. In the realm of banned films, few are as unique as Visions of Ecstasy, a 19-minute British short that holds the distinction of being the only movie ever banned in the UK for blasphemy. Directed by Nigel Wingrove, the film visualizes the ecstatic visions of the 16th-century Spanish mystic Saint Teresa of Avila, blending religious imagery with overt sensuality. One infamous scene features Saint Teresa in a dreamlike embrace with Christ himself. Upon its submission to the British Board of Film Classification in 1989, censors refused to grant it a certificate, citing the country's strict blasphemy laws. Legal battles raged for years, with the film's supporters arguing for artistic freedom and the abolition of outdated censorship laws. Visions of Ecstasy became a symbol of the struggle for free expression in the arts. The ban was only lifted in 2012, after the blasphemy laws were finally repealed. Today, Visions of Ecstasy is more than a curiosity. It's a reminder of how art, religion, and the law can collide, and how creative expression will always test the boundaries of what society is willing to tolerate. Funny Games, 1997. Michael Haneke's Funny Games is the rare film that seems designed to enrage its audience. Released in 1997, this Austrian psychological thriller follows a family terrorized by two young men in their vacation home. The violence is chilling, but it's Haneke's refusal to offer catharsis or easy answers that truly unsettles. Funny Games was banned in several countries for its intense psychological and physical violence. Critics and audiences alike found its unrelenting tone hard to take, and debates raged about whether the film condemned or glorified brutality. Haneke himself described the film as an attack on the audience's complicity in screen violence. Despite, or because of, its controversy, Funny Games was remade shot for shot in English by Haneke himself a decade later. Both versions remain deeply divisive, powerful examples of how cinema can be used to confront, disturb, and challenge its viewers at the deepest level. The Blue Lagoon, 1980. On the surface, The Blue Lagoon seems like a harmless romantic adventure set in a tropical paradise. But upon its release in 1980, the film drew fierce controversy over its sexualized depiction of teenagers. Starring Brooke Shields and Christopher Atkins, it follows two young cousins who survive a shipwreck and come of age together on a deserted island. The film's nude scenes, shot when Shields was just 14, sparked outrage and censorship. Several countries banned or restricted The Blue Lagoon, while child advocacy groups called for boycotts and investigations into filmmakers. Despite these issues, the film was a box office hit and became a pop culture phenomenon. In retrospect, The Blue Lagoon is often cited as an example of shifting standards in the portrayal of sexuality and adolescence. Its controversy remains a subject of debate about artistic freedom, child protection, and the evolving boundaries of what is acceptable on screen. Cannibal Ferox, 1981. Often lumped with Cannibal Holocaust as one of the most extreme films ever made, Cannibal Ferox, also known as Make Them Die Slowly, is infamous for its unflinching violence and real animal cruelty. Directed by Umberto Lenzi and released in 1981, the film tells the story of anthropologists who encounter a tribe of cannibals in the Amazon. The movie was banned in over 30 countries, including the UK, where it was prosecuted as a video nasty. Scenes of torture, mutilation, and animal slaughter provoked outrage among critics and activists. Censors demanded cuts before allowing limited release. Despite, or because of, its notoriety, Cannibal Ferox has become a legend among horror fans. While its shock value remains high, the film also stands as a cautionary tale about the limits of exploitation cinema and the consequences of going too far in the name of entertainment. Anders als die Andern, 1919. Long before Hollywood's production code, or even the talkies, German director Richard Oswald broke taboos with Anders als die Andern. Released in 1919, it's one of the world's first films to openly advocate for gay rights. The film tells the story of a famous violinist whose life is destroyed by blackmail under Germany's anti-homosexuality laws. At a time when homosexuality was criminalized and vilified, the film's message was nothing short of revolutionary. Censors were quick to act, banning the film and destroying prints. Surviving copies were hidden away for decades. The Nazis later used the film's existence as justification for even harsher crackdowns. In recent years, rediscovered footage has shown just how bold and compassionate Anders als die Andern was for its time. Its legacy lives on in the ongoing fight for LGBTQ rights and representation on screen. The Vanishing, 1988. George Sluizer. The Vanishing is a thriller that quietly shattered audience expectations and nerves. Released in 1988, this Dutch film tells the story of a man's obsessive search for his missing girlfriend. What sets The Vanishing apart is its chilling, nihilistic ending, which left many viewers shaken to their core. While not officially banned in most countries, the film's disturbing content and lack of resolution led to restrictions and warnings in several markets. Audiences expecting a traditional crime thriller were instead confronted with existential horror. Critics praised the film's craftsmanship, but warned that its ending was not for the faint of heart. The Vanishing has since been recognized as one of the greatest psychological thrillers ever made, Its controversy lies not in what it shows, but in what it refuses to provide: comfort, closure, or easy answers. It's a haunting reminder that sometimes the most shocking films are those that leave us alone with our darkest fears. Titicut Follies, 1967. Frederick Wiseman's documentary, Titicut Follies, remains one of the most powerful exposés in film history. Released in 1967, this stark, unflinching look inside the Bridgewater State Hospital for the Criminally Insane in Massachusetts revealed scenes of neglect, humiliation, and abuse that shocked the world. Wiseman's camera captured patients being force-fed, stripped, and taunted, painting a harrowing picture of institutional cruelty. The state government swiftly moved to ban the film, claiming it violated patient privacy. But many suspected the real motive was to shield the public from the institution's brutality. For over 20 years, Titicut Follies was barred from general release, screened only for professionals in the legal and medical fields. Its existence became a battleground for debates about censorship, ethics, and the power of documentary filmmaking. When the ban was finally lifted in 1991, audiences saw not just a historical record, but a call to action, proof of the need for transparency and reform in mental health care. Titicut Follies is now regarded as a milestone in cinema verite, a film whose uncomfortable truths forced a nation to reckon with the dark realities it would rather ignore. Upon its release in 1975, Salo was met with revulsion and censorship. Bans swept across Australia, the UK, New Zealand, and much of Europe. Even experienced film critics were known to flee theaters in horror. The film was prosecuted for obscenity in several countries, and for decades was available only through underground channels. Yet, despite its unflinching brutality, many critics defend Salo as a profound political statement, a warning about the corrupting nature of absolute power. To this day, Salo divides audiences like few other films. Some see it as art's bravest confrontation with evil. Others dismiss it as nihilistic depravity. But its legacy endures, challenging viewers to confront the extremes of human behavior and sparking debates about censorship, trauma, and the purpose of cinema itself. Battle Royale, 2000. When it comes to films that shook the very foundations of censorship boards worldwide, Battle Royale stands in a league of its own. Directed by Kinji Fukasaku and released in 2000, this Japanese thriller redefined the boundaries of what cinema could depict, especially with regards to violence among youth. The film is set in a dystopian future where, as a form of social control, the government randomly selects a class of high school students, drops them onto a remote island, and forces them to fight to the death. Only one can survive. From its earliest screenings, Battle Royale ignited a firestorm of controversy. Critics and lawmakers in Japan, Germany, the United States, and several other countries debated whether the film would inspire real-life violence among teenagers. Some viewed it as a chilling, necessary reflection of societal anxieties about youth violence and government overreach, while others saw it as gratuitous and dangerous. In Germany, the film faced years of legal battles before it was finally made available, and in many countries, it was given the most restrictive ratings, or banned entirely for years. Yet, beneath the surface shock value, Battle Royale is a sharp social commentary. It explores themes of trust, betrayal, the breakdown of societal rules, and the tragic consequences of authority unchecked by empathy. Director Fukasaku, who lived through the firebombing of Japan in World War II, brought a personal understanding of violence and survival to the story, infusing it with an intensity that feels frighteningly real. Baise-moi, 2000. France's Baise-moi is a film that, from its very title, declares war on polite society. Released in 2000, this raw, unfiltered story of two women on a vengeful, sex and violence-fueled rampage ignited immediate and explosive controversy. Co-directed by Virginie Despentes and Coralie Trinty, both of whom had backgrounds in underground culture, Baise-Moi unapologetically blurs the line between art house cinema and pornography. The film features unsimulated sex scenes and graphic violence, pushing the boundaries of what's permissible even in France's famously liberal film industry. Banned outright in countries like Australia and censored in its homeland, Baise-Moi was so shocking that France created a new 18+ rating specifically for its release. Critics were polarized. Some hailed it as a fierce feminist critique of patriarchal violence, while others condemned it as gratuitous and exploitative. Yet, for all its provocation, Baise-Moi is more than just shock value. It's a howl of rage from society's margins, exposing the links between trauma, alienation, and rebellion. Love it or loathe it, the film's unapologetic approach changed the conversation around censorship, gender, and the role of transgression in art. Thanks for joining us on this wild journey through cinema's most controversial films. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more bold movie history, shocking stories, and hidden gems from Hollywood and beyond. Your support keeps us exploring the untold corners of film. Drop a comment with your thoughts. What banned movie surprised you most? See you next time. Natural Born Killers, 1994. Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers is a hallucinatory descent into America's obsession with violence and celebrity. Released in 1994, this wildly stylized tale of Mickey and Mallory Knox, a pair of lovers who go on a murder spree, was as much an attack on media culture as it was a crime story. Stone's rapid-fire editing, psychedelic visuals, and dark humor made the film both a critique and a product of the chaos it depicted. Almost instantly, Natural Born Killers became one of the most controversial films of the decade. In Ireland and Australia, it was banned outright. Elsewhere, it faced heavy censorship and restrictions. The film's influence didn't stop at the cinema. Several real-life crimes were reportedly inspired by its characters, leading to lawsuits and renewed debates about the responsibility of filmmakers. But Stone's movie was more than just shock value. It was a razor-sharp commentary on a society addicted to sensationalism, where killers become celebrities and violence becomes entertainment. Today, Natural Born Killers is seen as both a product and a critique of its time, a fever dream that challenged viewers to question their own complicity in the spectacle of violence. The Last Temptation of Christ, 1988. Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ stands as one of the most debated religious films ever made. Released in 1988, it's not the typical biblical epic. Instead, it dares to depict Jesus Christ as a man who struggles with doubt, fear, and earthly desires. Willem Dafoe's vulnerable portrayal brought an emotional depth rarely seen in religious cinema, humanizing a figure often presented as untouchable. But this humanity came at a price. Before the film even premiered, religious organizations around the globe called for bans, organized protests, and issued threats. In Greece, Turkey, and the Philippines, the movie was banned outright. In the United States, theaters faced picket lines, and one French screening was even firebombed. Opponents called it blasphemous, particularly incensed by its dream sequence imagining Jesus in a sexual relationship with Mary Magdalene. Yet many critics and theologians found the film profound and thought-provoking, a sincere exploration of faith, sacrifice, and temptation. Scorsese, himself a devout Catholic, intended the film as a spiritual journey. Today, The Last Temptation of Christ is recognized as a powerful meditation on belief, doubt, and the costs of true humanity. Its controversy a testament to the enduring power of film to spark debate and soul-searching. Pink Flamingos, 1972. If there's ever been a film that proudly wears the badge of offensive, it's John Waters' notorious Pink Flamingos. Released in 1972, This midnight movie didn't just break taboos, it trampled them. Starring the legendary drag queen Divine, Pink Flamingos chronicles a competition to be named the filthiest person alive. What unfolds on screen are acts so vulgar, outrageous, and gleefully tasteless that they still spark shocked whispers decades later. The film's notorious final scene is the stuff of underground legend, inspiring both disgust and cult adoration. Banned in countries like Australia, Norway, and parts of Canada, Pink Flamingos quickly became the poster child for transgressive cinema. In the U.S., screenings were sometimes aired, and the film was the subject of obscenity hearings. But the outrage only fueled its legend. Audiences would pack midnight screenings, creating a raucous, interactive experience that made the movie a rite of passage for lovers of counterculture. Despite, or perhaps because of, its unrepentant shock value, Pink Flamingos is now hailed as a revolutionary work in queer and outsider cinema. Waters' fearless embrace of bad taste made the film a celebration of society's misfits and rebels. More than just a freak show, Pink Flamingos is a love letter to the idea that art should never apologize for being provocative. Salo, or The 120 Days of Sodom, 1975. No list of banned films is complete without the infamous Salo, or The 120 Days of Sodom. Directed by Italian auteur Pier Paolo Pasolini, Salo adapts the Marquis de Sade's most depraved novel into a harrowing meditation on power, fascism, and the darkest corners of the human soul. The film follows a group of wealthy libertines who kidnap teenagers and subject them to escalating acts of sexual violence, torture, and humiliation.